Hello, children. Welcome back to history class. We were studying in chapter 10 about the new empires and kingdoms. We studied about the Mauryan dynasty, the Gupta dynasty. Let us know little more about the other great rulers. Nearly 1400 years ago was a ruler named Harshvardhan, the king of Thanesar in present-day Haryana. We get to know about him through Harshcharitra, a biography written by his court poet Banbhatta. Harshcharitra gives us information about the genealogy of Harshvardhan and it ends with how he became the king. Children, do you know Harshvardhan was not the eldest son of his father, but he became the king of Thanesar after both his father and his elder brother died. Moreover, his brother in law, the ruler of Kannauj, was also killed by the ruler of Bengal. Strong and powerful Harshvardhan took over Kannauj, led an army against Bengal, and conquered it. Similar to Mauryan and Gupta dynasty time period, even in his period, people were very happy, prosperous and rich. He had successfully conquered regions like Orissa, Bengal, Assam in the eastern part of Indian subcontinent, but his expeditions were controlled when he tried to cross the Narmada and march towards Deccan. An equally powerful Chalukya dynasty ruler, Pulkeshin II, defeated him. We get to know much about Harshvardhan not only from Harshcharitra by Banbhat, but also from the accounts written by another Chinese traveler, Xuanzang, who stayed in Harshvardhan's court for a long period of time. Now let us know a little more about the Pallavas and the Chalukyas, which were the most important ruling dynasties of South India. The Pallava dynasty territory spread from Kanchipuram to the Kaveri Delta. Kanchipuram was its capital, whereas Chalukyas ruled the land between two rivers, the Krishna and Tungabhadra. The land was known as Raichur Doab. Aihole, the capital of Chalukyas, was an important trading center. It also developed as one of an important religious center because of hundreds of temples over there. The Chalukyas and the Pallavas frequently attacked each other's territories, especially the capital cities and the rich and prosperous regions. Pulkeshin II was the best known Chalukya ruler. Now, how do we come to know about him? We come to know about him through the Prashastis written by Pulkeshin II's poet Ravikirti. According to his Prashastis, Pulkeshin II led his expeditions along the western and eastern coast. He has also mentioned about the defeat of Harshvardhan in a very interesting manner. He said that after the defeat, Harsha, which means happiness, was no longer Harsha. Well, how can a ruler who has been defeated be happy? Ravikirti's Prashasti at Aihole also mentions how Pulkeshin attacked and killed the Pallava kings who took shelter behind the walls of Kanchipuram. But the Chalukya victory was short-lived. Ultimately, both the Pallavas and Chalukyas were defeated and new rulers like the Rashtrakuta and Chola dynasties came into power. Now let us know how these rulers administered their kingdoms. Like their ancestors, the villages were the basic unit of administration and collection of land revenue. But now the kings, they took support of men who were powerful economically or socially because of their political and military strength. For example, some important administrative posts were made hereditary. Means after the father, his son could take over his post. Like Harisena, the poet, he was also the Mahadand Nayak or the chief justice. After him, his son became the next Mahadandanayak. Sometimes a single person could hold more than one offices also. Example, Harisena, besides being a Mahadandanayak, was also a Kumar Amatya, meaning an important minister, and a Sandhi Vigrahika, means a minister of war and peace. Besides this, there were some other important men in administration like the Nagar Shrishti or the chief banker who would be the richest merchant of the city. Then there were the Sarthavaha or the leader of the groups of merchants, and the other was the Pratham Kulika or the chief craft person and head of the Kayas or the scribes. These policies were reasonably effective and helpful, but if these administrators became powerful and strong enough to raise their heads against the rulers, they would set up their own independent kingdoms. These new rulers had a new kind of army. Besides elephants, chariots, cavalry, and foot soldiers, now military leaders were appointed. They would provide the king with troops whenever he needed them. These leaders were not paid regular salaries. Instead, they were given some land grants from which they could collect tax and use them. This tax money was used to maintain soldiers and horses and provide equipment or weapons for warfare. These military generals were known as Samantas, and if these Samantas felt the ruler was weak, they would free themselves from the ruler. The inscriptions also inform us about certain assemblies which looked after the irrigation, agricultural work, making of roads, local temple, and other welfare activities of different regions. One such was Sabha, which was a group of Brahmin landowners. Then, next was Ur, which was the village assembly found in areas of non Brahmins. The next was Nagaram, an organization of rich merchants who controlled the landowners and merchants. These assemblies continued their functions centuries even after we come to know about the life and lifestyle of ordinary people of these kingdoms through the story and poems of Kalidas, which show the Brahmins and the kings speaking in Sanskrit, whereas other common people speaking Prakrit. Banpat's writings about the king's army on move shows the relation between the king and his people. Chinese traveler Fa Hin's accounts give us an idea about the pitiable condition of the untouchables. Caste system has a very strong rooting in our country. Do you think is it still relevant in today's modern times also? Shouldn't we end this discrimination now? Children, 1400 years ago, when Indian kings were expanding their territories and setting up their empires, in Arabia, there was a prophet Muhammad who introduced a new religion, Islam. Within 100 years, Islam spread to North Africa, Spain, Iran, and India. These Islamic Arab soldiers conquered Indian subcontinent region Sindh, which is presently part of Pakistan. With this, we come to the end of the lesson. In this lesson, we studied about what Prashastis tell us about Samudragupta's Prashasti, his genealogy, Harshavardhan and Harshacharitra. The South Indian rulers, Pallavas, Chalukyas, Pulkeshin II, and his Prashasti, and how the kingdoms were administered. There's a lot more to know about these rulers. In further classes, we'll learn more. Till then, revise your books and complete all the written work.